Justin in New Jersey. You're live with Eric and V. What would you like to talk about today?
Hey, hello, guys.
Hey, Justin. What's up?
I had a question for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a Christian, but I'm not here, with an agenda. I'm not trying to convert anyone, convince anyone,
Well, we should get on fine. What's your question?
Yeah. Okay. When I talk to a lot of atheists, they try to use evolution as a way to sort of justify unbelief, which I do notice is a common thing of the ones that I talk to. And I was wondering if evolution is based off the fact that we have a common ancestry with other creatures from the past, who still exists today.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't the fact that we have similarities between us, like in our appearance and our bipedalism, certain things, wouldn't that actually corroborate the idea that we have a common creator and a designer, since we live on the same planet?
Well, actually, that's a really interesting take on it. If I may, I'd love to respond. So, Justin, if you follow the chain of evolution back, at what point were we created? Because we can definitely see how single-celled organisms evolve into multi-celled organisms, and how those multi-celled organisms create symbiotic relationships with others and create these larger creatures. I mean, we see every step along that way, all the way down to single-celled organisms, and even lower than that, these how those cells come together. Where's God? It sounds like if you track through, there's no point in which you actually have a creator there. It just kind of happened.
Well, because I believe that God is a spirit, and because we're in flesh, and he's the creator and we're creatures, of course we're not going to be able to see, we're not going to be able to see outside of what we are and know, oh, this is how he did it. We just know that he did as a Christian.
So, Justin, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here. Are you advocating for like young Earth creationism or old Earth creationism? Have you bought into evolution, but you think that God started it? Where do you fall on that? Because how you describe it is going to determine how we talk about it.
That's a really good point.
Let me clarify that. I believe what Genesis says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Just let me explain. However, I do not place a time frame on when that happened, because it says in the beginning, which could be any time frame. It could be millions of years ago, billions of years ago, up until the rest of the events of Genesis chapter 1 to 3.
Okay. All right. So old Earth creationist sounds pretty much like. All right. That's very helpful. Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on from there, it sounds like you were saying we don't have a way to show it's true. You just totes know it's true. Could you elaborate on that? Because that doesn't really get us anywhere, that's not convincing. And I hope you know that's not convincing.
Okay. I'm not trying to convince you, but that's fine.
Well, why are you convinced, Justin?
Hey, what?
Why are you convinced? If you don't think it'll convince us, why are you convinced? It's not, do you have a different standard between what convinces Justin and what would convince Eric and V?
I'm convinced because I can see the effects of God's handiwork in history, in creation, in human consciousness, our conscience, everything. I can see.
Is it possible that you're wrong?
Where all that would lead to.
Is it possible that you're wrong?
Yes.
Okay. How can you determine, how would you tell the difference between those claims? How would you determine whether or not you were right on that?
It's the fact that my faith being that I trust in God's character and that he keeps his word and his promises. And if at any point he doesn't, like he says something and it never happens, or any promise he's made never comes to pass, or anything is like a straight out, well, he lied, then I'll be convinced that he's...
Okay, you're assuming that God is there to talk to you. Are you saying that you believe that the Bible is literally true across, all the way across? Or do you think God speaks to you directly?
No, I believe the Bible is true, but I also believe...
Cool. Do you believe that everything in the Bible is true?
Say what?
Do you believe that everything in the Bible is true?
Yes.
Do you believe that everything in the Bible is literally true?
I'm not saying that. Certain things are metaphorical, allegorical.
Okay, is it only metaphorical and allegorical when it's not real? Because that seems to be a really convenient thing to do, is to go, no, that doesn't count. It's just an allegory.
I never said that anything was not real, or I'm trying to excuse anything. I never said that at all.
Well, yeah, we're trying. Well, a good example is that old earth creationism piece that we just talked about, right? If you took the Bible literally, as many Christians do, and this might be where a lot of your conversations with atheists about why evolution was such a big component in them leaving the faith. A lot of Christians take Genesis 1 literally, right? If you take it literally, it is very clearly not accurate to how the world actually is or was. So a lot of other Christians, and it sounds like you might be one of them, has taken maybe that first part about God creating everything literally, but then all the rest of that is metaphor and allegory, right? And that helps smooth it over so that it doesn't actually conflict with reality and you get to keep believing it. I've seen this happen a lot with all different verses, all different books of the Bible, where in places where you do see that conflict and there is that tension, oh, well, that's probably a metaphor for something. And it's not intentional all the time. I know it wasn't for me. I assumed the Bible was true and accurate. And if it seemed like it wasn't, clearly I was reading it wrong, right? But it's the overall assumption that the Bible is true because God exists piece that we're kind of focusing on. And we can't build the idea that God is true and the Bible is true on the idea that God is true and the Bible is true, because then we get into that circular argument.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it sounds really beautiful when you say God's keeping his word. You know, it sounds very poetic. It really does. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, but...
No. I was taking us down a rabbit hole and I realized it, so I shut up so you could talk.
Wait, what?
Yeah, go ahead, Justin. What were you going to say?
Okay, I'm sorry. That's not what I was doing. I wasn't justifying one part of Genesis and saying that the rest of it is not true, or that's not what I was saying at all. That's not, I don't know where that idea came from. I'm not like most creationists. I don't just follow what they say I'm supposed to follow. I actually read the Bible for myself and go, wait, does this make sense? Does that make sense? And I actually go over it and see where the truth is, where the truth is going, like how it progresses.
Okay, cool.
Well, I love that. I love that you're not just taking other people's word for it.
Agreed. What do you make of the flood in Noah's Ark? Was that allegory or is that real? Did that really happen?
I think it was real.
You think it was real? And
yes.
Why would you accept that to be real when all evidence points to that not being real? Like you believe a global flood enveloped the earth and killed everything except for 8 people and 2 of every animal. Yep. That doesn't sound like you're doing that thing you were saying. It doesn't sound like you're actually really thinking, does this make sense? Because that doesn't make sense, Justin. We would see evidence of that.
You believe that multiple ice ages happened.
Justin?
And an asteroid killed all the dinosaurs somehow.
Justin, I think that for those claims, what we should do is we should look into the archaeological record, look into the geological record, and find out the best we can about what happened on this planet. We would be able to see evidence of those things if those were the case. And when it comes to evidence of a global flood, it just doesn't bear out, dude. It sounds like you believe that for no good reason. But maybe this will be your chance to explore it. You say you do that, so let's start with that. Look into Noah's Ark, and not, don't just look for sources that agree with you, but look at all of the sources and see what they have to say about it, and then call us back, because I'd love to see if you still believe that the Bible is true, or, and here's what I think is going to happen. I think you're going to call back and you're going to say, okay, it wasn't true, but it's an allegory for something. That way, it doesn't have to be true.
You
See,
know, I'm
that's
not gonna say that.
I hope not, but I'm going to tell you that's my prediction. We'll see. Okay.
Hey, well, and thank you all for your time, and
Absolutely,
it was a
man.
pleasure meeting with you.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
nice
as
meeting you
well.
too.
Thanks for calling in.
I was just gonna say if I offended you at all, or if I
No, you're good, man.
Yeah.
This is a nice and respectful conversation,
And it hits super close to home. Like
Yeah, we're
you're what you're talking about and the way you're describing it is a place that we've both been. And because of that, I think we're very, very excited and have a lot to say about it, because we've gone through this song and dance so much that it was one that we can speak on, we can speak to. And so we feel you, man. We do. But keep exploring, keep investigating, because that's good.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Take care, man.
yeah, and I'm